So here we are, sharing secrets of the soil with me, your host, Regen Ray.
G'day soil lovers, you're hanging out with Teale Simmons from Agriculture Explained, and we also have here
Regen Ray from the Secrets of the Soil podcast.
G'day Regen Ray. Got a question for you. How's your week been so far?
Really good actually.
Yeah.
Creating some space, getting some clutter out of my life, so it's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've just come back from a bit of monitoring work out west.
Yeah,
so
nice.
Looking at some farms. It's getting pretty dry out there at the moment, which is
but then there's other parts of the farmers that are saying that they're getting rain and they're enjoying it, and
that's good. That's good. Not where I went. Yeah,
where did you go?
Out to Dubbo.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit past Dubbo.
Yeah, right. No, I think it's more the east coast that's getting a bit of rain up in like Inverell and all that kind of area.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So they tell me.
Allegedly.
And so Sydney's raining.
Oh yeah, at the moment. Yeah, but anyways.
Wrong spot.
Yeah. Got another question for you.
Yeah.
So, say I have a farm, right? And currently I produce, lambs or beef, and I'm getting pretty bad prices for my product at the moment. And I sell just to the sale yards. What can I do to get better prices? Specifically looking at selling direct to consumer.
So you basically want the $1 million question.
Basically, that would be nice.
So you're on the Regen Hour, and we're going to be talking about, in a very short amount of time, the secret sources to marketing your business directly to consumers instead of the commodities markets.
Basically, yeah.
Nice.
So Ray here is our marketing genius with Soils Connect. So the digital and on marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing.
How do you explain it?
Marketing consulting for soil caring businesses is my kind of niche. But yeah, so I'm very happy to unpack that. But I think it's a very large question, and there is a lot of different things, and everyone's at a different cycle. I think that's really, for me, marketing is about what's the right thing to do for you and your market at that time. You know, the gurus will be like, well, you need to do Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But why? Just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean that that's the right thing for you. Is that, where your market is hanging out, or, when I say market, it's like the person you want to sell your product to. But I think what I've observed over the years is that people who transact into the commodities, it is just by default. It's like they know that that truck's going to come and pick it up and it's a done deal. Marketing and selling direct is very different to that. I took a deep breath when I answered that as well, because I think about all the work that needs to go in to setting yourself up to be able to sell directly to consumers or build a pool of customers that become what I like to call raving fans of your product. And getting there is a journey. It's not a sprint. It's definitely a marathon, and it takes time. So I think the first thing I like to do when I'm unpacking this with people is, what is the goal you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to sell your farm? Are you trying to set it up for succession? Because those type of things can play a big part on why you're doing certain things. If you want to sell the farm in the next couple of years, a contract with the commodities market is a good deal to make with a new buyer. Whereas, people tend to buy people. If you're the farmer and you're, Farmer Bob, and you're on this particular farm called Bob's Farm, it's very hard to sell that to a new owner, because you're building your own brand equity and your own farm story. And that's very hard for someone else to come in and take that over. It's a bit weird if Mary buys the farm and then all of a sudden it's Bob's, eggs and Bob's this. So, little things like that, like even, I know it's very common in the farming world to brand your products as your name or your farm name or your kind of cute little thing that you've got going on. That's really good if succession, generations to be, you're going to hold this name in the family and that becomes your brand identity. But if you're looking to sell your farm, that's a bad decision, in my opinion. because it's not transferable. But it's a really good business model because when you embed yourself into your brand, you become extremely unique. You can't go and buy Bob's eggs down the road because only Bob can create Bob's eggs, and so that becomes brand equity and it becomes part of your brand identity. And there's a lot of net worth attached to that. So I think the first steps for me is understanding what are the goals that you're trying to achieve, what's your farm plan look like for the next 10 years, and then putting a strategy in place that's going to align to those goals. And then there's lots of pathways you can go from there. But I think the first thing is looking at your brand identity, the colors, the imagery, the wording that you use. That's probably the lowest hanging fruit that you can kind of work on. You can normally whiteboard those on a butcher piece of paper or on a napkin. They don't require a lot of work, and farm logos can be quite simple, and most people go buy a stamp and then just stamp brown paper bags with their logo. Like that is definitely enough branding to get started with. You don't need to order thousands of packaging and stickered labels and put signs on your shed and get a nice wooden crafted sign at the front of your farm. Like those things happen down the track, but I think often people want that at the start, t-shirts, hats,
all the
merch,
cool stuff.
It's all fun, but it's just money that's going down the drain really that could be used in reinvesting in bringing more customers on board. So if we unpack the first part, why would someone want a brand in the first place?
Why I guess why is it a better idea, or depends, what's the benefit of going direct to consumer versus a commodity product?
I think we're moving to a point now where people want to know who's at the end of that, who's at the other side of that transaction. So I think when I talk about brand in the farming world, I really think about it as more like storytelling, like telling your story, just knowing your authenticity of like who you are. And I think that matters because, you think about like even like the big brands, like, McDonald's is the golden arches. Like you could have those on anything and people that's brand recognition. You can have, like Coca-Cola's brand isn't even really their logo. It's the shape of the bottle. You could have a bottle that doesn't have any label on it and that that's a Coke bottle.
Yeah.
Like that's a very hard play. And I'm not saying by any means that people need to have this brand equity that is like the shape of your packaging, but that's the power of brand. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that from the silhouette of your product to, the feeling that people get when they're standing in your store at a farmer's market, that is all part of your brand. If you're going to a farmer's market with a logo on your t-shirt, egg cartons with a nice label on it or even a stamp on it, if you're using recycled packaging, like that all tells a story about your values, who you are, and you will align with a lot more customers who understand what you're trying to do. And so you use your brand as a filter to some degree to attract the customers that you want. McDonald's solves the problem of convenient food, not quality food. If you're looking for a very nice sit-down meal to go on an anniversary date, very few people would pick McDonald's. Some will. It might be a little like fun place where they first met and so their anniversary is at the McDonald's. But you don't go in there for quality. You're going for, repeatable, convenient, quick. Some people argue it's not even quick anymore. But, you know your audience. You're a fine diner. You're not going to be there. So McDonald's brand now filters out the people who aren't their customer. If you're vegan, you're not going to go to McDonald's, things like that. So I think those are the kind of things that you want your brand to do, is like tell the story for you while you're kind of sleeping to some degree, and have other people feel proud about your brand, to be like, look at these amazing eggs. They're from Bob's Farm. Someone who has Bob's Farm is going to get a lot of marketing.
Yeah. I actually think there might be one in our area, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, it was not intended. It was just the first name that popped into my head.
Bob's Chickens, I think.
Bob's Eggs, you want it to be a packet that sits on the bench and someone says, oh my God, these eggs are the best eggs I've ever had. And you have that referral marketing without even spending $1.
Yeah.
And that takes time and it takes a lot of crafting. And, I know farmers wear many hats. They need to be the accountant, the agronomist, the land carer, the marketing person, the salesperson. But I think, polishing your understanding of marketing and how people buy products is a really good kind of soft skill to learn. And if you don't know how to do it, partner with someone that can help you along that journey.
Yeah. And I guess the reason why someone would want to go into direct to market or building out your own brand in the first place is because there's bigger profit margins in that. I mean, it's a whole nother kind of aspect to your business, setting up, how am I actually going to get this product on your farm to off farm, and then there's legislation and whatnot around that, and packaging and making sure it's food safe if you're dealing with food. I mean, that's agriculture.
Yep.
But for me, when I think about it, it's almost like a spectrum of, you have commodity products, which is very low touch with you and customer, which might be that might be good for you if you don't want to talk to butchers and restaurants and all of that and have the headache. Almost. Sorry, butchers. And
no, it is a lot of hard work.
It is, yeah. And for a bit of context, so our family farm, we kind of moved beyond from this, but we used to do free range pigs, and so it was all direct to consumer. It was all direct to restaurants and butchers around Sydney. And so we had a really strong brand play on premium free range pork. And so, I know from experience kind of how this, how we use this. But it's on that spectrum of, you can either sell to, at the yards, and you send your livestock to your stock and station agent or your livestock agent, and he sells it or she sells it for you, and that's all you got to do. So you just have to worry about growing. And on the other side, you're growing stuff because you have a on-site restaurant. It's very high touch. It's very talking to your customer experience is a whole nother aspect to your business.
Yep.
And then there's all this everything in between. You got CSAs and community supported agriculture. You got farmers markets. You got co-ops. So. But I guess the further you go along the line, you're looking more towards a branded product. You're looking at more flexibility in the way you market yourself.
Yep.
And within marketing, there's, I guess, more opportunity to make yourself different from other producers. And that's, I guess, where you find your money.
Yep.
Whereas in your commodity plays, you're looking at your production systems and making basically more product with less input. And so, either one's not good or bad. It just depends on you and how you want to play, I guess, your farm.
Yep. And I think the only thing I want to highlight with the whole restaurant thing, that's about knowing what your goals are.
Yeah.
So if your goals are to provide to restaurants, most restaurants don't care about eggs being in branded packaging.
No.
They want it to be in trays that are in it's a different type of packaging or a different type of delivery. You're bulk delivering in bigger boxes. So that matters. Are you going to waste time putting stickers on packaging that's going to then go into a restaurant, the chef sees it and it ends up in a bin?
Yeah.
That's a waste of everyone's energy and resources. So this is why knowing what your goals are. If you're selling, microgreens to a restaurant, they want to receive it very differently than microgreens at a farmer's market. And so that's, knowing where your produce is going, how you want to get to that end goal matters from the decision framework, because you can sit down and say, we're going to get labels and all this other stuff, and we're going to build a website, and then you pick up the restaurant client. It's like, well, now all that stuff doesn't matter. That's exactly right.
They're just going to send you a text what they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was our case.
Yeah. And that's more about building relationships. There's a little bit more feet on the ground. You're going to walk the streets. You're going to door knock. You're going to go and talk to the restaurant owner and see how they can integrate your items into their menu. And also, they don't want everything cut up by the slices. They're probably happy to receive it in bulk, where consumers want, each slice cut and fat removed and, all this other stuff, and needs to be presented differently. So all those things really matter. And that's why I think the goal of who you're trying to serve and the problem or the market you're trying to fulfill really, really matters. And I think a lot of people put that as an afterthought, which I think needs to be more, build it with them. If you decided to go and target restaurants, go and ask the restaurants, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want it, in a box, square, round? All those things matter, but they're like, our kitchen's small. Everything has to be in small boxes. Awesome. Build it with them rather than making assumptions that they want it in big pallets and then they've got no way of receiving it or putting it into their loading dock and things like that. So building these with your particular clients and ideal clientele really kind of matters. You know?
And like for us, so we had I'd say it was a pretty good brand name, and we had a decent, I guess, Instagram and Facebook following. And so all of that contributes to the amount of value that is in your product when you do sell it to a restaurant or butcher, because they can then say, you know, we're selling this branded product, and there's associated value and quality that comes with, even perceived value and quality that comes with that.
Yeah, social proofing.
Yeah. So like at the restaurants we would supply to, it was like our farm, it was Melinda Park. So Melinda Park French pork, like rump, you know, like roasted rump. And so when a consumer sees that, or the person that goes to the restaurant, you know, our dinner tonight is coming from Melinda Park. How cool! Like the free range pork. So so that plays into, so your brand plays into the perceived value you get from a product.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think you make a good point as well. Like all those things, like your website, your social media. Like you might find that you're selling to a restaurant and you think, well, do restaurants need a social media profile? Like if I've got 10 customers that I'm selling my meat to every week or my eggs to, do I need to have all those social media elements in the website and all that? And I think yes, because it's the social proofing.
Well, it depends on what you want to do, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think you know, we live in a world now where people fact check. You know, if they see a name of a brand on a menu, people are going to Google it and they go, "Well, hang on, this brand doesn't even exist. Did they just make this up?"
Throw it on.
Or you go to the Instagram account, it's got 4 followers. You think, well, is it really a good farm? You know, like I think those things do matter, and it's really easy to build these things. You just got to ask. You know, and if you don't ask, you don't get. You know, and so it's like, you know, when you're out there, you're kind of promoting, and, you know, I do it all the time when I go to these conferences. People are like, "Oh, how do I connect?" I'm like, "Oh, let's get our phones out now and, you know, search and connect and invite and follow." You do it instantly, because no one's ever going to do it when they get home or on a business card or later, or if you hand them a flyer. Like all that is like really just a waste of paper, in my opinion. You want to do the instant connects, the instant follows, the, you know, do it for them, with them.
Good.
You know?
Yeah, because then you're in their feed. Yeah. And you know, pop up when you post.
Yep, that's right. You know, and doing that kind of things instantly and in the moment. And you know, if you are at a farmer's market and you are selling stuff, like have a QR code that people scan, they follow, they show you the phone, they get 5% discount.
Yeah.
You know, like building up followers or building up an email list when you are doing these kind of activities really pays off down the track. You know, it might seem silly at the start and it's hard to ask for, but so many people will scan a QR code and follow for a small discount, and it costs you a lot less profit margin doing that on the fly when someone's engaging with your product than trying to market to them using ads and then paying like dollars of a click to get that conversion, rather than, you know, maybe taking $1 off their bill, at the counter for giving them 5% off or something like that.
Yeah. So I guess, with brand and going direct to consumer, so one reason is we want to charge basically a premium. So it separates us from a commodity product, and our brand conveys value that we can charge effectively a premium for. And the second thing I would say about having a branded product is that you can control, I guess, the volatility of your price of the products. So if you're a commodity, you know, lambs this year might be, you know, $100 or $125, and then last year they might be $125, and this year they're $5 or $1, and you have no control over that whatsoever.
Yep.
But in a bit more of a branded product, you have more ability to say what price, you know, it is, and that's important because you get consistency too. You know, the price of your product's not going to change that much from this week to next year, unless you control it. You can put your prices up, and that's a massive one. You know, it de-risks your reliance on, you know, other people effectively, or other I guess markets, when you control a bit more of that. Yeah.
I know when I first got into the farming world, it blew my mind that, you know, farmer wakes up and goes, "Oh, today the price is $25. You know, yesterday was $60." I'm like, how do you plan? How do you run your business? How do you like make any decisions?
When you don't know what the
what the sale price is. Like, you can't reverse engineer anything, you know, and it is really kind of a bit of a crazy world that we live in, that these farmers are selling to like, commodity markets. And if they are in a contract, it normally has like really annoying, red tape around it that kind of becomes painful to deal with and things like that. So yeah, it's kind of like, one of the industries where the farmer has to like, take all the risk.
Yeah.
They're like,
it's like trading Bitcoin. Like you don't know it, it's so volatile.
Right. Yeah.
Livestock market's pretty
volatile. At least with Bitcoin,
too.
You just buy it, you may make a loss. But with farming, you're like inputs, caring, tractors, repair, like, like
mortgage,
fuel, the mortgage, like all these costs are thrown at this enterprise. And then on the day that they wake up for market day, the price changes to who knows what.
Yeah.
It can go up, win, but, it can also come down. And we've seen that with lambs and a lot of the meat, this year, all the livestock going from thousands of dollars during COVID to like hundreds of dollars now. And, farmers, and what's sad is that like some animals are actually better dead in the paddock than
it's cheaper. Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of agriculture.
Yeah.
We sent some steers off to the markets a few weeks ago, and we got $30 a head for them, and it costs. So we sent 10. We got $30 a head, and it cost us $400 to get them there. So it's like, so you lost money.
Yeah.
And then, but even that doesn't even factor in. You buy them in, you feed them,
care,
all that time,
repair, the petrol.
Yeah, and so it's like versus, and it sounds bad, a few dollars of bullets effectively. You either lose $10 a head or $2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is just a reality.
It's more than $2 because all the effort of loading them on and like you get back hours of your day. So productivity wise, it definitely makes more sense. And that's the sad reality. And I think this is why we're talking about marketing from a farmer point of view, but from a consumer point of view, like if you're buying products, you really do need to know where it's coming from and how.
And supporting your farmer too.
Yeah.
Like they're going to be effectively charging premiums above the commodity price, but wouldn't you rather your money go to the farmer than all these middlemen?
Yep.
Yeah, and even though they are, providing value along the production line, and there's a lot of value that's added after farm gate.
Yeah.
But would you rather support your farmer or some food processor?
Yeah, logistics company. And so there are a lot of models. We rattled off a couple of them before. I think they all need to be explored in their own merit because some people get really excited about what we call CSAs or community supported agriculture. Kind of started in Japan, very big in America. But the main gist of it is that you partner with your farmer and you pay a membership every year in order to get a percentage of the yield. Yep. Some years it'll be more, some years will be less. I like this model because you're partnering with the farmer and it moves away from the model of buying produce by the kilo. So I hate when I see people saying that they have a CSA and they sell in subscription boxes because the subscription boxes with 2 kilos of carrots and 5 kilos of this and 20 kilos of meat for X amount of dollars is not a CSA. A CSA is when someone, that's a subscription model and it's basically like a food box on subscription. Where a CSA at its true form is when you give your money to the farmer and you say, if you get flooded this year and there is no yield, I get 0 kilos of produce. That is a true CSA. And if you hit gold and you yield thousands of kilos of produce, I get to reap that benefit and get thousands of carrots. So it's about a percentage of the yield rather than weight or kilos. And so I like that because you have a fixed number of people, might be 100. They're all paying, $500 each. They pay the farmer up front. The farmer goes and grows that food with the intention that this produce is already sold to my CSA members. I'm growing this for Bob, Mary, Jeff, Anderson, like all these kind of people.
So does it work like, so I buy a quarter? Is it a bit like that?
Yeah. So normally, you're buying a share like in the farmer's yield. And so you never know what's going to come in your box.
Yeah, okay.
Whether it be 2 mushrooms or 20 mushrooms because it's a percentage of how much was picked that round.
So it's not per kind of animal, it's per the farm? Or is it whatever the farmer contributes to the CSA?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So like if 20 head of cattle went to market today and you've got 100 members, then that 20 head will get distributed by 100.
Yeah,
but if 10 go, they get distributed by 100. if one goes, that gets distributed by 100. You know, so
it spreads the risk between the farmer and the consumer.
One thing I love about it the most is that the farmer gets the money first.
Yep.
You know, and this is going back to my discussions in other episodes where the way that the farmer plants the seed with the intention that it's already sold is from abundance. When it comes from, I'm going to plant this seed and I really hope that I sell it, comes from scarcity. And so CSA in my mind, and when I discovered CSA is like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I actually looked at bringing a CSA tech platform from America to Australia because I thought this is the way we're going to grow in the future. This makes sense. And 10 years or more beyond, I still haven't seen it take off in Australia. And I think it's because we come from a food model where everything's by the kilo. And it's like, I need 12 potatoes to make my dish work. You know, so we haven't really worked out the whole share economy or the parts per. So that's true CSA.
Yeah,
the other option is co-ops, you know, which is what, you know, appeals to most people.
Yeah, I was going to say with the CSA, I guess, the customer's taking a lot more of a risk.
Why should the farmer risk it all? Why should the farmer go, I've got 20 orders and I have to grow 20 kilos to give each person 20 kilos? Why should the farmer wear the anxiety of that risk and then they only get 19 kilos and someone misses out on a kilo or everyone misses out on a little bit and it has to be like negotiated and spoken about it. So that's what I like about it. It's like we're in it together.
Yeah.
You win, I win, you lose, I lose, we lose.
Together.
It's together. You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many people who are like, oh, I wish I had a, you know, backyard so I can grow some food. Well, here's a way that you can outsource the backyard to a farmer who's trained to do it and give them the money up front. You know, so Tammy Jonas does a CSA with beef in Victoria. She's also part of the Australian Food Sovereignty Alliance and does a lot of work in bringing change to our current food systems. She has a waiting list for like 20 years of people who want to join her CSA.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You know, it's fixed. Like I can only produce enough meat to provide to 100 families per season. And that's it. When someone leaves, the next person comes in. You know, this is why I think, you know, moving to this food system creates such demand. Like she's got a 20-year waiting list because no one else is doing it.
Which but if she could also increase her price.
That's right.
And, you know, have a waiting list of, you know, 5 years kind of thing.
But if more people got into this CSA model, then there's a whole bunch of people that will go, well, I won't go on this waiting list. I'll now go and actually sign up. You know, so I know the demand's there if it's done well. Like how can someone have a 20-year waiting list and then other people are like throwing produce out because they can't sell it?
Yeah,
it blows my mind. You know, so that's my rant on CSAs in a way.
Would you do it if you had a farm?
Absolutely.
Over mate boxes?
100%, because I think it makes us work together. You know, CSA members are basically saying like, I'm part of your farm system. Like you grow for me, you know, with me, and I don't know. It just feels like it's such more in harmony with each other to not be disgruntled when you only get 500 grams of carrots instead of 1 kilo. Like you're not promised the kilo, you know. And on the flip side of that is like when I start learning about food nutrient density, like who cares if you get in a kilo of carrots when they're basically grown in bad soil and depleted of nutrients or grown in hydroponic systems? Like who cares if it's a kilo of carrot if you need to eat 4 times the amount to get the benefits for it? You know, you're not actually getting a kilo of nutrient dense carrots. So, you know, when we start changing the way that people look at food and understand, and I think this is the essence of the marketing, is that when farmers start talking about our carrots have been bricks tested and this is the score that we get, and they start talking to the consumer about the nutrient density and the way that it was grown, and they can see pictures behind the scenes of those carrots being picked in the morning and then delivered by, you know, Jeff the driver to the local businesses or to the local pickup points. Like that's the storytelling that I was saying before. It makes such a better story to sell when you have 100 people on your CSA and a waiting list for 20 years. Yeah. Like who cares what your logo looks like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's it's like the story is what's going to sell your your produce and the price that you set for it. You know, whether it's in a brown box or a white box with your logo, people are just hungry to receive that CSA box, you know.
So how would you go about setting up a CSA? So say you currently have a farm. It can be any type of farm you want.
Yeah. The first thing I would do is go and look at other people who are running CSAs and speak to them, because I think the CSA model gets confused a lot by subscription boxes.
Yeah.
And so I think the best way to set up a CSA, and what I would do, would go and find other CSAs and be a member yourself and see what that looks like and how it transacts. But then speak to the people who have set it up. Like, why did they set it up? What were the things that worked well, didn't work well? In fact, I know that there are online classes, especially in America. Like, there is a CSA kind of learning
course kind of thing.
Or YouTube videos.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Facebook groups. You know, I'm pretty sure there's a CSA Australia support group. You know, so going in and I think experience it for yourself, you know, is number one. It's like taking a car for a test drive. You know, once you get in it and drive it, it feels differently than just looking at it in a magazine or in a brochure. Go down the rabbit hole of learning true CSAs, like learn that it came from Japan culture and partnering with the farmer to be your farmer and your grower, and sharing the produce, whether it's good or bad yields. Just kind of self-educate that and see whether it aligns with your values. Like, is that the model that works for you? Because maybe you don't want the anxiety of like taking people's money first and then growing for it. Maybe you prefer to be the person who grows the produce and risk selling it or not selling, or maybe you want to go to the farmer's market and stand behind a table and speak to 100 people every Sunday and sell your produce that way. You know?
Farmers markets are fun.
Yeah, not doubting that at all. But the smart thing would be to have a farmer's market that sells produce and CSAs. So eventually your succession out of the market is that you've converted your customers into a CSA model.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to keep going to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
You know, like, to me, that's kind of the system that makes sense, is do the hard yards, but also work smart while you're there. You know, let's take your family farmer's market experience. If over those years, you know, each week one new person joined a CSA or a co-op or a share box or a subscription box even, then after 5 years, you have a list of customers that will now come and pick up from you or from 3 pickup points. So you don't have to go to the markets and spend the whole day there and risk whether it's raining and it's a washout and no one comes. And now you've got, you know, your kilometers of driving, the fuel, the setting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, like all that disappears slowly, you know, with a succession plan.
Yeah, you almost use the farmers markets as like the marketing or like almost your ads.
Correct. Yeah. Meet the customers and go, you're a really good customer. You've been here 5 times now. Like, have you ever thought of, can I share the fact that we have a subscription box or a CSA model? Do you know what that is? Let's have a chat, you know. I think that's kind of like working smarter, not harder. Yeah,
that's actually a really interesting point. So long-term vision, say you want to like do this over 10 years, and at the end you want to have either a CSA or a meat box subscription service. So and then you go to the farmers markets, basically find all your customers. So let's talk about a subscription box next. So what does that involve?
And I just want to touch on the CSA, like the tools. I don't know exactly what's out there, but I do know that there are CSA management softwares where you can, like, you know, you could even do it in a spreadsheet. You know, like there are manual ways of doing it where you have all the members' names, you know, how many shares they own. You then put in like what you grew and it will calculate how much of everything needs to go in every box. I think the hardest thing is also like pickup days and drop-off points, like those kind of things, distribution of the boxes. And I think that happens in subscription boxes as well. So in subscription boxes, you know, I think the hardest thing with subscription boxes is like not knowing what you're going to yield. So like, you know, if you've got 100 customers and they're all looking for a 10 kilo box, but then you don't yield that, who do you let down? You know? So subscription again has the, and that's a good problem to have. Like if you can send an email out to your customers and say, hey, this month we were short on our expectations. We're looking for 10 people to skip this month's box. I'm sure there will be 10 people who'll go, I'll skip. You know, so I think that's a good problem to have. I think the other problem is like when you you know, you're like over deliver, like you got too much and you don't, then you got like this stuff left over and you're like, I don't know where to sell it now. And normally plan B on that would be having a co-op where you would go and drop your meat at a co-op, and then that was separated across their members, and you get less price, but more wholesale. Yeah, and it's sometimes not easy just to integrate into an existing co-op unless you're a member of that. And then there's also food banks and things like that. Like you can do good with a surplus and give it to like people in need and whatnot. So, I don't think anything should be ending up in a bin these days with the amount of systems and processes that we have where food can have, second, third lives. But I think subscription box, it's more setting up the tech, getting people to buy the box, collecting the payments every month, following up failed payments. That's probably one of the other risks as well, is like having good governance around whose subscription has failed, because no point shipping a box and then realizing that someone's bill didn't get paid. And I think there's a lot of online platforms now like Shopify.
Yeah, I'm sure they do it.
WooCommerce, if you're on WordPress, that could manage subscriptions for you. I subscribe to my coffee roaster, sends me a kilo of coffee every month. I can go in there, pause my subscription, update credit cards. Like you want things to be self-care, because if you're having to answer phones to update people's expired credit cards and things like that, it becomes annoying. And I think we live in a world now where technology can be easily integrated, and if you're stuck, give me a yarn at Saul Connect, because I'll help you in some shape, way or form. And I think there are enough tools now where you can just kind of subscribe to a software to then help manage your subscriptions. I think even Xero can even do subscriptions and link it in with Stripe.
They probably have a add-on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Xero subscriptions is a thing where you can put all your customers into Xero or your accounting platform, create an invoice, say that it's recurring, and now they're on a subscription plan. So I think there's definitely the tools out there that can do it. If you're old school, I guess you can have a spreadsheet or a piece of paper, and you ring all your customers every month and get their credit card details and put it into a FPOS machine and do it that way. I think it's very, very, very possible. But I think the hardest thing with subscription is filling that up.
Yeah, I think
having 3 subscribers is not fun.
10
is getting better.
Do all that effort.
Yeah,
and because if you're going to do two steers or like one steer, it's like the same amount of effort effectively to do 2 and 1.
Yeah,
you still got to take the same truck there.
Yeah, the return on effort is definitely better in your favor when there's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a good way of doing it is you almost do it in quarters. So you have like the first this first quarter of this year kind of thing.
Seasons.
Seasons. Yeah.
Yep.
And you'd have a pretty good idea of how much you're going to grow within the season. And then you do, we have 50 boxes, and it's best to do these things on bulk. Yep. So, 20, 50 kilos.
Yep.
And you're going to do 50 boxes. Maybe if you're at a farmer's market, you advertise that. We have 50 boxes. They get delivered on this date or at the end of the quarter. You prepay, and then it all gets delivered at that market, on that one day.
Yep.
I think
there's always someone who doesn't come.
Yeah, no, there is. Yeah.
And even if you're going to deliver through logistics systems, like there's a lot of red tape around that. Like it has to be frozen or refrigerated deliveries, and there's not many freight companies that offer that service. And, I think sometimes the price of these subscription boxes goes up because of the freight. You get a $150 meat box, and then you're paying $45 for delivery. It's like a third of the price is in delivery fees. Makes it a $200 box. People are like, well, I don't know if that's now worth it. All those kind of things.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of subscription boxes delivered to my door, and it's always a nightmare to get them delivered.
Oh,
I don't know why. It's just hard.
Yeah.
And most farmers will end up employing their own drivers that will do like the Melbourne trip or the Sydney trip or the, I think sometimes it's about building your own network rather than relying on current logistic companies.
Yeah, and that's what we found. Like we never hired anyone to deliver our pigs, so it was basically just whole carcass to restaurants and butchers.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't quite find the quality in the people that you hired to do that.
Yep.
And so, after I got my driver's license, I was driving the truck into town and basically doing all that.
Yep.
But before that was, all my parents.
Or the neighbour.
Oh, that was just I don't know. We always just did it all in house because
cool.
you couldn't quite trust someone to rock up at the time, get all the pigs, and if there was something wrong at the abattoir, someone either took your pigs accidentally or there was one misplaced somewhere. A lot of the time when you hire someone, they're not quite. They don't quite go out of the box to take initiative.
Yeah.
So it is logistics. The logistics part is always like the hardest, and
this
also
is why people default back to the commodities.
Yeah, and it's not bad doing.
This is so hard. I'm not designed to do B2C or farmer to consumer. I don't want a farm gate. I don't want people coming to my property, so I just sell it to commodities. Yeah.
It is easier, and then you can just focus on your production system.
But I definitely say try.
Give it a go. And I think the lowest hanging fruit is farmers markets.
Yep.
Send your so in our case pigs. We send the pigs to the abattoir, and then we'd get it directly delivered to a butcher shop. They'd cut it up, package it for us. We'd pick it up, and then basically it was my job to pick it up. We'd put a label on it, and then take it to the farmers markets the following morning.
Yep.
And then sell out.
Yep.
So I think that's the easiest way to do it. It is tough when you're in very remote areas. So we were quite lucky because we were we're next to Sydney, and so we have the abattoir.
Yeah.
Well, it was like 2.5 hours.
I know if you're 6 hours from a major city, it's very hard.
It's not going to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The other thing I want to talk about is co-ops. I think co-ops are quite interesting in a model. Now, co-ops normally means that a group of farmers get together, they pay a membership fee that goes into marketing that co-op. So it's kind of like pooling people's funds together to create the marketing, the logistics, the pickup points, the network of distribution. And then, farmers drop off their produce at a drop-off point, and then someone sorts and gets it all kind of sorted. So that's kind of like a done for you subscription box kind of model. But there are normally fees associated to that. And minimum, requirements of delivery to make sure that all the members in the co-op are getting, serviced and all that. There's a couple of things to explore there. There's the Open Food Network, which I've always found to be a very interesting platform where you can go and find these kind of co-ops and direct to farmers markets things. So that's quite interesting, and they take care of the tech. So you put your products up there, people can come in and buy this, buy that, and then you get kind of like a pick list at the end of the day, and you say, drop all this off at this point by this time, and then someone else kind of takes care of it. I think in my own personal hearings of co-ops is they sometimes get a little bit messy around the decision making and who wants to take it in this direction. Because as a co-op, you kind of become part owner in that group, and you can vote to make changes. You can talk about where do you want the marketing dollars to go. And I feel like sometimes co-ops get a little bit messy based on the members wanting to go in different directions.
One thing and someone else wants to do another.
Yeah. So I think that's, common whenever you pull heads together and, sharing in that together. So I don't know a lot about co-ops apart from that. And maybe even some of that might not be true to every co-op that's out there. But, a lot of the co-ops that I've seen, their pickup points are normally like the health shop down in certain point, and so the health shop is kind of like the one doing all the sorting, and all the farmers drop everything out on a Friday, they sort it all out, and then Saturday's the pickup date. And I think that can work really well, but again, it's the right thing at the right time. Do you have any comments around co-op or anything else you want to share around that?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but it is, I guess the more of the management side of it, making sure it's all managed correctly, and I can see how it gets messy quickly. Yeah.
And I think the common thread between all these things is just, always be selling yourself to some degree, even if it is in a co-op, are your boxes labeled? Do they have QR codes? Are there call to actions on the products where people can learn more? I think the best industry that does this well is wine. Wine bottles always have a QR code where you scan and can watch a quick video about how that wine's made and where it's grown and the location of the grapes. And I think that's really good storytelling. And I don't see why every farmer can't have a page on their website that's like our story. There's a video, there's some testimonials, there's some pictures of the farm, and you have that on your labels, and people scan that and they get to meet the farmer in the aisle or over a kitchen bench when they're at a friend's house. I think these little small things are really good wins when you go to farmers markets. How do you sell produce but also grow your database? How are you, incentivizing people to say, scan the QR code, join our email list for 5%. And if you join our Instagram, you get 10%. You'd be surprised that what you think you might be losing out today doesn't increase your customer value down the track, because trying to get that customer's detail later is very, very hard. And if you give them a brochure and say, when you get home, join our email list, you might as well just get that brochure and put it in the bin, because no one ever does any of that stuff. Think about the last time you went to a field day. You end up having a bag full of brochures and it ends up near a table for a week and then it ends up in a bin. No one ever goes back to those brochures. And if you are the one of the 1% that does open those brochures, that's not enough to create any marketing change in the world. So, diss the brochures and think that people will do it later, do it instantly. And create incentives, you can go into restaurants in Sydney now, and if you leave them a Google review, they'll give you 5% off your bill. These things are happening. People are getting more and more used to it. You buy something from a shop, 5 hours later you get an email in your inbox saying, leave us a review, for a $5 coupon on your next order. It's happening all the time. And I think farmers need to kind of catch up on the fact that this is kind of what's happening, and people are comfortable. People will scan a QR code now post-COVID and fill out a quick form. It's not like you're asking them to spend half an hour at your stand asking questions, a quantitative survey. It's about this quick connect and showing this, confirmation page and giving them a 5% discount.
And trying to get them onto social. So and
you'd be surprised. You don't even have to discount. It might even be have stickers. Join our list and you get a sticker. A bumper sticker or whatever it is. Maybe we don't want to create more junk in the world, but you'll be very surprised what people will do to get a small freebie. So that's the kind of main tip when it comes to marketing is just do it. Work smarter, not harder. I'm just going to say that all the time. Is if you're going to go to a trade show, or you're going to go to a farmer's market, or you're going to go to a local fete that you're supporting, what can you do to maximize your return on effort? If you went to a farmer's market and collected 100 email addresses and sold 5 things, that's a good day, because you now have the opportunity to sell multiple things to 100 people. Rather than just going there and selling 5 things, closing the chapter, then what?
Because you might be able to sell to them, a subscription box later on. Even if you're not doing one now, you do one in the future, and you've basically made up a list of 1,000 potential buyers that are in your area at the farmers market.
But is it not even promoting products? It might even be asking them, hey, we're thinking of starting a subscription box. Is this a good idea? What would you like to see in it? Just asking for feedback, creating a feedback loop to 100 people is much better than you sitting around a table speaking to your wife and your kids about, should we start a subscription box and what should we put in it? And this is what I was saying before, build it with them, not for them. That will be kind of the title of this podcast. The more that we build things with people and for them, with them, rather than for them, because most business owners, and I've been guilty of this in myself during my business ventures, I built an app that I wanted.
And you go,
but no one else wanted it.
You get too close to it.
And you get too close with it, and it's very hard to part away from it. So you think, everyone wants truffle-infused mayonnaise, and then you spend years building this perfectly, truffle-infused mayonnaise, and you take it to market, and no one wants it. Why not create an audience of 100 people who want mayo, and then put them on a subscription that they get a mayo, mayo a quarter. Every quarter they get mayo delivered to their door, and now you build 100 every quarter for 100 who already bought it. It just seems more an easier way to solve that problem. And you might have to put 5 or 6 different things in front of your audience before the jackpot happens. They don't want truffle mayo, but they want truffle infused oil. And then all of a sudden that goes gangbusters and everyone wants truffle infused oil. And then you're on a winner before you've even bottled one thing of anything and printed any label.
Yeah, yeah. Watch someone with a truffle infused mayo right in. I'm actually doing really well.
I want to hear that. That's exactly the stories that I
I'll
love
give it a
hearing,
try.
because I think fusion is the future.
Oh, really? Yeah, infusion.
I think fusion recipes. Like I went to Adelaide recently, and there was a Mexican Indian restaurant. Indo-Mexican was what it was called, and it was like a Indian burrito, like butter chicken burrito.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
It's like, this is where it's like, the intersection of like two worlds colliding. Is it truffle or like, I don't know. I just think it's really cool when we can grab two different worlds and merge them together and create this new industry in its intersect. Like who would have ever thought that, Vegemite and cream cheese would create a creamy Vegemite in a jar? Like these fusions happen, peanut butter and Nutella, mixed together and you've got a peanut butter and Nutella spread. Like chocolate and marshmallow come together and like, I know these are all really bad examples, but on the surface, it sounds weird, but picnics always existed and it was always peanuts and chocolate. So it makes sense. Like people are already eating these mixed together, like you go to the pancake parlor and they've got like spaghetti bolognese pancakes. You think it's weird, but
I've never seen those before.
That's what I'm saying. But like,
where are you going?
Yeah, well, just Google it. It's on the menu. Oh, it's probably more of a Melbourne thing. No. It's probably, Pancake parlor is more Melbourne. In Sydney, they have
pancakes on the rocks. Yeah,
but you go to Pancakes in the Rocks, and they've got like a full like ribs, steaks, pizza.
Yeah, but not on pancakes.
No, but there are savoury pancakes. Maybe not a pancake at the Rocks, but in Melbourne there is definitely savoury pancakes. You can get egg and bacon and maple pancakes.
Oh, okay,
those kind of things. So my point here is like where you can create fusion. Again, it's your unique value proposition. How do you create a story that you're like, I was listening to a podcast where they were talking about fusion, and then I decided to merge my,
truffle and mayo.
Maybe
that's really good.
Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe feeding your chickens a particular something changes the way that the eggs taste. I don't know.
There was something with that with saltbush and lamb.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but apparently that goes pretty well.
But I think there is a lot of that kind of permission to experiment.
Yeah. And you can build a brand around that.
That's right. But don't do it before people want it. This is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like just because it sounds kind of cool to have truffle infused mayo, maybe no one wants it, and so make sure people want it first, build the demand, build the hype, ask your list, if I do this, would you? And if they say yes, get them to pre-order because like the best validation is actually them voting with their wallet. It's very easy for everyone to say, yeah, I'll buy truffle infused mayo.
Yeah, it'd be like Cybertruck.
Yeah.
What Elon Musk did. Yeah. What was it, like was it $50 deposit or something? Yeah.
Yep. Do you want me to tell a story?
Oh, yeah, go for it, yeah.
So Elon Musk...
It's a good idea.
Yeah, well...
To, like, the pre-sale thing.
Yeah, well, he was just... So the truth... Like, the essence of that story is more that he needed money. And so he thought, how can I get money that didn't involve banks and interest? So he basically said, I'm going to release my Cybertruck. It's $50. He gave people the ability to feel like they owned Cybertruck on a pre-order with a 100% refund policy. If you change your mind ever, we'll give you your money back. And so he went to market with it. Thousands and thousands of people worldwide hit the credit card button and gave him $50. You do the maths on thousands and thousands of people. I think he raised like $5 million in one day.
Yeah, nice.
He went and then paid his creditors.
That's crazy.
And didn't need a bank loan. Got himself out of a bit of hot water, and people who then cancelled the transaction. Yeah, he did it with like, he'd put a alcohol in a lightning bolt thing and called it smoke, and it was a perfume, aftershave.
Not sure, but there's the flamethrower.
Right, he did the flamethrower as well. But he's just very clever. Taylor Swift is another person who's able to like monetize her fame at the moment by doing just weird things and drip feeding the audience with like doing, this is all marketing, like they're just very good at hitting the headlines. Now, I'm not saying farmers need to be in the newspaper and getting headlines, but you need to be in a position where you can, be Australia's first, truffle infused mayo. Let's just stick with that. I don't know. I'm surely it's already done.
Yeah, probably.
But
We're just slow to this.
Yeah,
We're behind.
that's right. We're behind. Well, you didn't even know about spaghetti bolognese pancakes in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Probably making people hungry thinking about all this food.
Yeah, I'm getting hungry. Yeah.
Me too. Hungry for more marketing.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Before we wrap up the show, is there any other things that you wanted to cover off in marketing?
No, I mean, it's such a big topic. You just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. I think marketing is more than just your logo and your domain and your colours. I think people spend so much time going and buying the truffleinfused.com.au mayo domain name, but and then no one wants it. So I think you're better off creating hype, getting people to vote with their wallet, give you money. Like, look at Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a perfect example of where you can come up with an idea, pitch it to an audience, they buy the product before you even make it, and then 2 years later you make it and you ship it. Yeah. So if people say, people won't give me pre-orders or money, before it comes, and even with the Cybertruck, people are paying $50 to pre-order a Cybertruck that's still not even close to getting released, and this was years ago. People will pre-order, and Kickstarter is a perfect example.
Yeah. I think the best place to start, though, is just on social media.
Yeah.
If you don't have a Facebook page for your farm, create one.
And join in Facebook groups. Like, ask a question. Like, if you don't have an audience, go into a Facebook group, add value, solve problems, comment on posts, and then ask a question. I'm thinking about doing X. What do people think? Yeah. And I've seen so many. I am surprised how much time people have to be super helpful on social media.
Or super mean.
Or super mean. But I see posts with a simple question where I think, isn't that Googleable? Like, can't you Google that?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I've seen the same.
97 comments.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Just Google it.
What? Like, it blows my mind. And that just tells me that people care to help, and probably better than Googling, because you're getting like real feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Google's just going to tell you like the Google answer, and here's the sponsored ads and, whatever. But I think people, this is what's really interesting. What's happening from a consumer point of view is people aren't trusting the platforms to give them, like, where do I buy high quality eggs? Because Bob's Farm might not come up because Bob doesn't have a website and he's not really good at optimizing. But a very big, large egg company who claims to be Australia's best egg producer will come up at number one result because they got the marketing. It doesn't mean they are the best. So Bob doesn't get exposure, and people who search don't get the real results. They get the people who can pay for the results or have the marketing chops to get it done. But if you go into a Facebook group and say, I'm really looking for good quality eggs in this area, then all of a sudden 12 people recommend Bob's eggs. Bob's getting some sales.
Yeah. And it comes down to attention.
Yeah.
How do you get people's attention?
Yeah.
Social media is the easiest and cheapest. If you just post pictures of the farm, like, every so often. Yeah, tell a story of the farm.
It's raining today.
What are you doing?
This is the view out of my window. Boots are full of mud. Like, people will be surprised how much people love the behind the scenes. If I put a post out saying this episode's coming out next week, whatever, no one cares. But if I take a photo of like, we're recording behind the scenes and this is my setup, I get 50 questions about what mic are you using? What's that desk that's in front of you? Which camera are you using? Like, people love the behind the scenes, and so I think farmers have this amazing world that happens to them every day.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really interesting to most people apart from them.
Yeah, because most people don't have any idea about, farming.
Yeah. My biggest thing when it comes to this is my little catchphrase. I don't know if I'm stealing it from someone, but is your ordinary is other people's extraordinary. So what you think is boring and ordinary and just another day at your farm, people outside will have their mind blown and is just absolutely extraordinary content. So if you're recording something going, who the hell wants to watch a video of me talking about a tree I planted a year ago?
Post it and tag us.
Post it and tag us. And you'd be surprised how much people really care about what you think is boring. So create more content around, like, honestly, like, take a photo of your muddy boots and be like, hard day's work, this is what my boots look like.
Yeah, thank goodness for rain.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that stuff might be like negative for you, but for the rest of the world, amazing. They can see the hard yards. That is why those eggs cost $15 a dozen. because muddy boots in the rain. Got to move the chickens. Got to go feed them. You know, the hustle is real. You know, brings that authenticity to the way that you do your craft.
Very good.
As a farmer.
Yeah. Well, we're just past the hour mark.
Woo! We are. This is the first Regen hour.
Yeah. Oh, actually, it might be a bit behind because of editing and cutting, but that's all right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was the first 5 minutes.
All right, another minute to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if any of this piqued your interest,
if you need help with it, send Ray a message.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to help. But I want to, I want to create more content that is helpful. So if there's a topic that piqued your interest, or you want me to go and research more, or get a guest on that talks about CSAs or other, co-ops, then let us know. This again, building it for you, not with you.
Yeah.
Not for you. This whole thing is about creating content that you want, that we can keep adding that value too.
Very good. Well, this has been the Regen Hour. Get outside and get your hands dirty. I'm Teale Simmons.
And I'm Regen Ray from Secrets of the Soil.
Awesome. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Ciao. Well, soil lovers, that's enough secrets for one episode. I really hope that you enjoyed all the secrets shared during this conversation. But hey, let's not keep it a secret. Please share this podcast around and make sure that you like it and leave us a review, because that really helps spread the secrets of the soil. Until next time, remember, get outside, get your hands dirty, and keep digging deeper into your soils.